Up-and-comers like Townley Haas, who you see there in lane 5, who was just 4/10 out of the mix in the 400 free last night. So he was close to getting that first Olympic berth. What about his chances in this 200 free?
Well, I love his chances. Fastest swimmer in history in short course yards. He did this as a freshman at Texas, and he's a better long course swimmer. May not have the experience, but could be a huge factor if he gets on to make the final.
So it's Haas in lane 5. Again, we'll see Ryan Lochte in the next heat. Again, Lochte failing to make the team last night in the 400 IM. So Lochte will be feeling the pressure a bit in the upcoming heat. So there is Haas in lane 5. Above him is Jack Conger in lane 4, who used to be a backstroker, but he scratched the 100 back this morning and concentrating on this race. So Conger in lane 4. Then you've got Tyler Clary, who's below Haas in lane 6. He scratched the 400 IM final last night.
Boy, how important is this race just to make a final? Boy, if you can just get into the top 8, Dan, you're almost there. They will most likely take 6 swimmers in this event, certainly the top 4. So you're really almost on your way to Rio if you could just get in there, and this will not be easy. I was talking to Michael Phelps, who's up here in the booth with us, and he made a good note. He said, listen, only a second separates 3 through 16. Half a second separates 8 through 16, so this shapes up to be a tight one.
And they're fairly tightly bunched, as it appears that Haas is going to have the lead at the 100-meter mark. Indeed, he does. Followed by Jonathan Roberts, who's down there at the bottom of the screen in lane 8 as the lanes go from top to bottom, 1 through 8.
Conger does everything underwater. He's right above Townley Haas, who has that slight lead. So watch Conger here as he comes off the wall. He's going to go in with a slight disadvantage, but he's got great turns. That comes from that great butterfly. We'll see him swim that later on. Watch him stay underwater. See Haas pop right up to the surface, and then Conger really stays under a lot longer. A little dangerous, perhaps, in a 200 freestyle, but not for him.
Race is on here. We've got 3-4 swimmers, including Tyler Clary in lane 6, who's applying pressure. 20 meters left here in the first of the 2 semifinals. You got Maxime Rooney coming up there in lane 1, trying to put some pressure on, but it's going to be Conger and Haas at the wall. 1-2, Clary third.
Boy, what a swim for Tyler Clary to get in there and get third place. 1:47.6 for him, but a great swim for Jack Conger. 1:47.15. 3/10 of a second separated those 2 swimmers, and look right there as they come into that wall with a lot of force. And boy, you cannot let up the last 5 meters in this race in a semifinal, because everything depends on getting into that final. Watch the underwater again. 3/100ths of a second was the difference. Nevertheless, they'll both safely make it into the final, as will probably Tyler Clary.
Personal bests for both Conger and Haas in a very hotly contested first of 2 semifinals. Clary also with a good time of 1:47.66. So before we get to the second semifinal, which involves Ryan Lochte, let's talk about the final of the night, which involves Katie Ledecky. And even though she's been to just 1 Olympics and 1 World Championship so far, Rowdy, it's tough to put what she's done in perspective here.
It really is, Dan. When you think about it, we've been around the sport for a long time, and in my 40 years, I've never seen such domination as I have the last 4 years. Even Michael Phelps, the greatest swimmer in history, had his rivals, the Ryan Lochtys and the Michael Caviches. But I just see no equal, at least in her best events, the 400 and 800 freestyle. Simply amazing.
Here's just another amazing stat to add to Ledecky's growing list. She does not know what it's like to lose a major international final. A perfect 15 for 15, and I think that's what kind of drives her. She doesn't want to know what it feels like to lose.
And loves the process, and loves this feeling. Very dignified grace, very humble, and just ready to go.
All right, let's talk about Ryan Lochte here, who's set to go here in the second of the 2 semifinals in the men's 200 free. The pressure has been ratcheted up, Rowdy, since not making the team in the 400 IM, and also coupled with the fact that he has been nursing a groin injury, which he talked about further last night after not making the team in the 400 IM. Says it is definitely bothering him. He says, I got to be tough. These are the Olympic trials. He did get a shot of Toradol at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we understand from his coaches that he is definitely feeling the improvement from that anti-inflammatory shot. But we've got to get into the final 8 to get a shot at another Olympic berth. So Lochte is up there in lane 3, and Connor Dwyer, who's already made another Olympic team after his nice finish second to Yeager in the 400 free last night, is definitely a player in this distance as well.
Well, you don't want to be 147 high after this semifinal right here. 3 really solid swims with 147.6 with Clary being 3rd. You don't want to take any chances here. Need to be under 148. Ryan Lochte's already done that once at 47.7. So did Dwyer. All they have to do is repeat, and they'll be in the final.
Talk about the mix of the 400 free. You've got first and second, the 4th and 5th in that event in this heat alone, because Connor Yeager, who won the 400 free, is on the bottom of the screen in late 8. So it's a loaded second semi.
You really have to keep an eye on Ryan Lochte up there in lane number 3. Again, you talked about that groin strain or pull. It can be disastrous right here. When you push off that wall, there's that jolt. And he's had this groin issue for the last couple of years. It's the start and the turns that will take its toll potentially here in the 200 free.
And he really went out in a hurry last night on that 400 IM and just had nothing left. And of course the groin was a factor, but we've got Lochte in lane 3. Below him is Connor Dwyer's got the slight lead right now. Below Dwyer is Clark Smith, who is having himself a fine trial, swim a personal best this morning.
Boy, they have really separated themselves, haven't they? These top 3 with the rest of the field. The only one that's even close is up there is Michael Klee in lane number 1, but boy, the 3 in the middle looking very good, and they'll push each other most likely to a pretty good time here. Let's see what Lochte has coming off this last roll. That's where he really launched in this preliminaries, and he's going to have to do the same thing here. Here he goes. See the other 2 pop up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Lochte comes up.
Lochte just rockets it ahead of Dwyer, but Dwyer's not finished yet, you know it. Lochte took the lead with that brilliant turn, and now Dwyer is passing by him. Lochte hanging tough. Dwyer's going to win the second semifinal. Lochte trying to hold off Clark Smith below him in lane 5, and it is Lochte who fades to 3rd as Smith got in there just behind Dwyer. And everybody looking at the clock, crunching the numbers to see where they're going to be in the final 8. Lochte is 5th overall, so he's safely in to the finals tomorrow night.
Boy, what a race. What a semifinal that was. Watch that foot way on the back of the fin of the block. That's what hurts so much when you have that huge jolt. It's so hard on your groin. You've got to be very, very careful on that, and he didn't take any chances. Watch here on the right side. Watch what he does there. Look at this. Keep this going now. Stays underwater, has that big kick. These 2 guys are already up swimming, and then Lochte is out kicking everybody else, but Dwyer's out swimming everybody else, and that's the key in this long race. There are only 3 turns, and Dwyer makes a statement there by winning this one.
He does indeed. It's Dwyer who's the #1 qualifier to the finals tomorrow night, wins the second semi, 146.9 Smith 6, followed by Smith and Lochte, and here is how the final 8 stack up. Dwyer, Conger, and Haas and Smith, the top 4. Lochte in the pit spot. Clary is in there as well. It ought to be a very intriguing final tonight in the men's 200 free tomorrow night.
You guys be good. I'll see you later.
The women's 100-meter breaststroke. And there was a look at Katie Miley. figuring to be a huge factor into getting to her first Olympic Games. After graduating from Columbia, she moved to Charlotte to train with David Marsh, head women's coach of this U.S. Olympic team. He's had great success. He put 6 swimmers on the team 4 years ago. And a very familiar name on the Olympic scene, Jessica Hardy, is just below Katie Miley in lane 5. Second best time ever. That was turned in 7 years ago, as Jessica Hardy, a real veteran, in her 4th trials. So it's Hardy in lane 5, Rowdy, and Miley above her in lane 4.
Watch Miley start. It is spectacular. Boy, she can get off the blocks, can't she? Wow. 0.64, a little slower than she did in the prelim. She was 0.59. That was faster than any male or female in this 100 breaststroke.
So you got Miley in lane 4, Hardy in lane 5, and below Hardy in lane 6 is Bria Larson, who's an Olympian as well. 6th in London. In fact, upset Hardy to get on the team in this event 4 years ago when she finished ahead of Rebecca Soni. So Larson has that kind of experience. But right now, it's Miley just ahead of Hardy as they go 1-2. And Larson was in 4th at the turn.
Boy, this is an event that is really shaping up to be such a good one for the women, just like the 100 butterfly. Just a couple of years ago, the 100 fly and 100 breast were real weak strokes for the Americans. And now all of a sudden with Vollmer and Worrell, and you've got Lily King, and of course Miley, this could be a very strong event once we get to Rio for the Americans.
Molly Hannes in lane 3 is challenging Miley and Hardy below her. They are going to be in the top 3, and it might be Hannes who out-touches them all, and it is. Molly Hannes, the 24-year-old from Tennessee Aquatics, wins the first of the 2 semis. Miley was 2nd, and Hardy was 3rd.
Well, Miley certainly safely in. Beautiful stroke, a little spinny, but she keeps her head very low down. Very athletic, has an analytical mind, no dramatic up and down motion. She aims the top of her head toward her fingertips, and you can now see it underwater. Take a look at that great scoop out in front. She really corners those hands very well, and then watch the finish all the way through. All 3 swimmers will have no problem moving on to the final there. 106.7 being 3rd with Hardy. Anything even close to 107 low will probably move on to the final.
So there are the results in semifinal number 1. You see Bria Larson there in the 5th spot. She might be in a little bit of trouble. We'll see how the times shake out in the 2nd semifinal as we get set for that. And the next step for Lily King, 19-year-old, in her quest to reach her sport's ultimate stage.
Everyone dreams of being an Olympian. You ask any young swimmer, what do you want to do in this sport? And they say, I want to win an Olympic gold medal. Once you finally get to that point and it actually could become a reality, it's pretty special.
It's going to be very tough to beat Lily King.
NCAA's was a huge, huge step for me.
She did it! She did it!
My name's in the books now. Like, I'm an American record holder. I will always be an American record holder. It was just an incredible experience and a huge confidence booster going into trials.
And Rowdy, you know how special that performance was in the NCAA. Swept the breaststroke events. In fact, was the NCAA Swimmer of the Year as well as the Athlete of the Year at Indiana University. So Lily King indeed capable of taking this next big step and punching her ticket to Rio. So Lily King in lane 4. And how would you characterize Sarah Haas in lane 5? As a contender as well in this?
Oh, I think so. She has a great history of success. Swam at Stanford. NCAA champ 2 years ago, 2015. Lily King was the champ this year. But I think this is all about Lily King.
And Haas just about a week or so removed from getting staples out of her head. It was an unbelievable accident she had. She had some weights attached to her as she was training in the pool, and they came down, hit her in the head. And again, this was just a short time before these trials began. So that is what Sarah Haas has been dealing with in lane 5, and above her, Lily King in lane 4.
We start right there in the middle, 3, 4, and 5, all 0.65. King is a little bit more of a free spirit when she swims. Not that she's a brilliant swimmer. She definitely is at that young age, but that young exuberance for her just seems to take over, whereas Miley is much more, as I said, analytical, dissecting. Lily King can just let it go. She's got great front half speed, 30.7 on the way out.
She's letting it go right now. Her mom was a college swimmer. Dad was a cross-country athlete at Indiana State, so she comes from an athletic family. And you can see King with that Hoosier swimming cap on, pumping and looking pretty good. Below her is Haas, who is running second. And then you've got Andy Cottrell above King in lane 3, who's looking pretty good as well. But it's going to be Lily King here, who's going to set the pace in this second semi. Haas should finish second as they go 1-2, and Lily King will be the top qualifier going into the finals tomorrow night.
Just a real composed swim, and you see her stroke. She gets more height than Miley, which allows her to press forward. You can kind of see it underwater where that head just throws again to those fingertips, but from above she gets that high elevation, which lets that energy travel forward. Boy, she generates a lot of speed though from that kick. Still keeps that head nice and steady, just like Katie Miley did.
So the results of the second semi, 105.94. King wins that, followed by Haas, Cottrell, and Melanie Margalis. So we'll look at the final 8 who advance into the final tomorrow night. King will lead the way. Hardy in there in a good spot along with Miley. And 2012 Olympian Brie Larson is out. Kevin Cordes is the American record holder. He takes aim at his first Olympic berth when we come back.
The World Championship. Silver in the 200 was the key leg on that 400 medley relay that won gold. I think this is his moment.
Cordes, the #1 qualifier in lane 4, is going to have to keep an eye on Cody Miller, as Cordes will probably go out first, touch the wall first, but Cody Miller will probably be among those trying to chase him down, the American record holder in the short course in the 100 and the 200. There is Miller on the right next to Cordes, so he knows exactly where Cordes will be.
Well, he will certainly close on Cordes. This guy has stepped up in so many races the last couple of years.
And below Miller in lane 6 is 17-year-old Michael Andrew, who set some 80 national age group records. A teenage prodigy, might be a little early though. The lights have just dimmed. They've kind of flickered on and off, so we've got a little bit of a light issue just as these swimmers hit the pool for a final with an Olympic berth on the line. But I don't think Cordes is thinking too much about that. He's got the lead as he's under his own American record pace.
Looking very good going out. And now he just needs to maintain that stroke tempo with these guys around him. If he can just keep that level head. Watch Cody Miller right above him. He has that great closing speed, but right now they're both in for a battle.
Yeah, Cordes is getting the pressure as we expected from Cody Miller. Miller reaching. It looks like they're going to go 1-2. Is it going to be Cordes and Miller as Cordes just out-touched him? So we've got 2 more first-time Olympians to add to the list.
Whew. That race was all about race. Had nothing to do with the clock. And I thought at about 90 meters, they were both in trouble. Here's the turn right here. That's where races are won and lost in these hundreds. You've got to step on a race like this on those turns. You see Cordes with that white cap right there, going out very fast, but watch the finish here. You had a feeling that these guys up on top, Titus, Wilson, Pernod, they were all right there, but boy, the last 5 meters, Cordes and Cody Miller, first-time Olympians, and they both touch virtually at the same time. Wow, what a race.
You see the Olympic rings by the name of Kevin Cordes. His dream comes true, as does Cody Miller from the Badger Swim Club, 24-year-old. who got engaged at the Golden Goggles last November. That's kind of the Oscars of swimming, so big moment for him, and then bigger moments coming up for Cody Miller and Kevin Cordes. Coming up next, Katie Ledecky on the cusp of another Olympic team. As you look at the lanes, and Ledecky, a commanding force in this event for a while now. You saw Allison Schmidt above her in lane 3, looking for another Olympic berth as well. And then you've got Leah Smith below Ledecky, expected also to be a factor in the race for second. Let's be clear about that. So Ledecky, who kind of paced herself in the morning prelim swim, Rowdy, which leads me to the next question. Do you anticipate perhaps the lowering of Katie's world record in this race?
I don't believe that she took a hard stroke this morning. That entire 400 freestyle still goes 4:02. She's going to blast out this first 50 and force everyone else to react. That's what she usually does. It totally takes them out of their own race plan. She's broken 11 world records over the last 4 years, and I think you just might see one here.
Among those 11 world records, Rowdy, 2 in this discipline, the 400, 4 more in the 800, and 5 world records in the 1500. A discipline not contested at the Olympics for the women. But
ridiculous.
If it was, that would be another runaway gold medal for Katie Ledecky.
And you know, it's so simple. Her game plan is just, she treats this race like a 200 freestyle. Everyone else treats it as a distance event, as a 400. You can see that 56.3. Dan, that might be a little too fast. A second and a half ahead of world record.
Wait a minute, isn't that what you were saying in London 4 years ago?
I did.
When she went out in the 800 and beat Rebecca Adlington, and you said, "Man, I think she might have gone out too fast."
Too fast.
She hung on and shocked us all at the age of 15. Now 4 years later,
she did. You're
here
right.
we are, and her first chance to get on her second straight Olympic team. So we'll see if Katie Ledecky has gone out a little too quickly. Well, approaching 2 seconds under world record time now.
Michael Phelps standing next to us, kind of jumping up and down, cheering for Katie, obviously. Teammate Allison Schmidt right above her in lane number 3, kind of fighting for second with Leah Smith. Remember, 2 do go to Rio.
We're approaching the halfway mark, and Ledecky is way ahead of the world record line.
Dan, look at this flip. She's going to flip at 156.2. That could make the individual 200 freestyle when we get that a little bit later on.
Yeah, folks, this is just the beginning of Ledecky's program. She's got the 200, the 800 as well, and who knows what she's doing. The crowd has risen to their feet watching Ledecky and what could be another incredible record-breaking race.
Right. You know, getting lost right now is Leah Smith. She is having an amazing race right now. Only about a body and a half behind Katie Ledecky.
Still on that world record pace.
Boy, she jumped on that first 50, Dan. I know I said it 4 years ago, but I mean, the speed she had that first 100, if she's got any type of speed like that in the 100 and 200 free, you can see the line starting to catch her a little bit.
Yeah, it's gotten a little tighter on her. Leah Smith is in great shape to get to her first Olympics.
No doubt about it.
100 meters left for Ledecky.
You know, Katie's hurting, Dan. Katie Ledecky is definitely hurting right now because she didn't have that great roping stroke. She's starting to flatten out a little bit, kind of lost her kick, and now Leah Smith is only about a body length behind. I don't think she's going to catch Katie Ledecky, but the world record line may now catch Katie Ledecky.
Ledecky broke the world record in this 400 free twice back in August of 2014. Now she hears the crowd pump her up a little bit, and 50 meters left for Ledecky, who's going to punch her ticket to another Olympic Games. Now it's 4/10 ahead of the world record.
Great turn there. That was what was really interesting. She had a really good turn even though she's hurting, and now she's fighting that world record line with all she's got.
Losing some ground, it's now ahead of her, but Katie Ledecky is on her way to another Olympics, and she'll go there with Leah Smith in the women's 400 free. Those two are so far out in front of everybody else as Ledecky hits the wall 3:58.98 and Smith hits the wall right behind her in 4 minutes 6.5. So Ledecky on her way in the 400 free for the first time in Olympics after making it the 800. And Michael Phelps among the thousands here giving Katie Ledecky a standing ovation, even though she came up short of the world record. But it's the third fastest. Continue. Two semifinals each in the men's 100 back and the women's 100 back as well. We start off with the first of the two in the men's as you look at Aaron Pearsall, who still reigns supreme as the world record holder in this event. Great tradition for American men in this event, and this could be the guy that continues that tradition in the years to come. Ryan Murphy, 20 years old, Rowdy, who you talked about as being the next guy in that legacy.
Well, we talked about it in the prelims, Dan, about the great backstroke tradition that the United States has. Aaron Pearsall, Ryan Lochte, Lenny Krazelberg, Jeff Rouse, John Neighbor, the list goes on, and this guy certainly has a chance to carry on that tradition. He's still only 20 years old.
And you still feel the same, I'm sure, as you did this morning, even after watching the morning prelims, that this is basically a three-man race for two spots between Ryan Murphy and the two guys that are going to be upcoming in the next semifinal. You see the suction cup marks on Ryan Murphy there. Comes from an ancient Chinese therapeutic medicinal procedure, which I guess increases blood flow. I'm not really sure if it actually works, but they seem to be into it.
Well, you see a lot of athletes doing that, not just swimmers, but athletes across the board. So it's got to help somewhere. And you can see where those cups are, Dan, right there on the shoulders. And that's the problem sometimes when you have difficulties with shoulder. The shoulder rotation and backstroke so critical. And that's right where those cups are.
That's where I'm headed immediately after the conclusion of the competition, Rowdy, for cupping therapy a little bit later on. So here's Murphy in lane 5.
Great start for Ryan Murphy. Always so quick off the blocks. 0.56. Wow. Along with Godso in lane 6, the quickest off the block. Again, I like Katie Ledecky. I really don't think he took that part of a stroke the entire 100 in the preliminaries. And you can see why. Look at this, Dan. Way out ahead. Look at this.
Under world record pace, and we thought, Mac Breeders even said so before the trials began, that either he, David Plummer, or this guy, Ryan Murphy, would flirt with Aaron Pearsall's 7-year-old world record. That record, 51.95. Murphy is right on it right now. 51.94 is Pearsall's record as he faded away just a little bit. Murphy gave it a run, didn't he?
Might have been a touch too fast that first 25 meters. Boy, you're right, though, Dan. He gave it a run all the way to about 98 meters. It was just the last couple of strokes. Still, that's the fastest time in the world this year. And that is the 9th fastest time in history as he just explodes off that block right there. Watch him throw that head and shoulders back. Those feet almost go straight up, which gives him that nice dip. And then once the finish just tightens up just a little bit. Still, fastest time in the world now, 52.28. And Mitch Larkin, that great Australian, is definitely going to have some competition, potentially. We're not done yet, though.
So Ryan Murphy, another impressive race for him as he continues to build toward his first Olympic berth. Top 8 make it into the finals tomorrow night. Jacob Pebley with an impressive time of 53.1 second in that semi.
Really good time for Jacob Pebley because he's a much better 200 backstroker. So he's going to have a great 200 back. He's going to be safely on to the final as well. And you've got two Cal guys coached by Dave Durden going 1-2 right now.
Murphy 6th in this event as a 16-year-old 4 years ago, but now could be his time as he's just put up a good time. Again, a personal best of 52.28. Ryan Murphy gets set to go in and do a little clock watching from the field in the second semifinal, which includes the silver and gold Olympic medalist in the last two Olympics in Matt Griever.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the swords competing in semifinal 2 of the
So out they come, the last 8 competitors in the men's 100-back semis. Grievers will be in lane 3, and you can't miss him because he stands 6 feet 8. There he is. He'll be in lane 3, and just below him will be David Plummer. And those two have known each other a long time. They say they've been competing against each other since they were 10 years old. A couple of quality backstrokers. So Griever's in lane 3, and then there's the heartbreak kid, David Plummer, who finished 3rd in this 100 backstroke 4 years ago by 12 100ths of a second, and had to watch Grievers and Nick Thoman represent the United States and go 1-2 gold and silver in London.
And that's how great this stroke is. It's just unbelievable, Dan, the quality of backstroke for the United States over the years. This is the same thing that's going to happen this year. I can guarantee you the guy that finishes 3rd here would definitely have a chance at a medal and probably gold when we get to Rio, and they won't even go.
So Plummer's nose piece goes from his mouth up onto his nose as he gets ready. And we mentioned Murphy took a run at the world record. You expect Grievers and Plummer to maybe do the same here?
I don't think they have to. They may do it just to be able to say, hey, I want to get a time tonight and then race tomorrow night in the finals. But it's not necessarily. If they even go close to what they did in the prelims, at least Plummer, they'll be safely on in the finals. Grievers is going to have to go faster, and I know he will. He went 53.9, Grievers did this morning. Boy, for two big guys, Dan, they get off the blocks. Griever's 6'8", 6'4". I mean, they really can get off the blocks.
Griever's now 31 years old and looking for a 3rd Olympic berth.
Plummer looking very smooth right now. He's really taking it out. There are those two guys right there. Grievers and Plummer. Plummer about a half a second ahead.
Under world record pace was Plummer.
Well, you know, he has now the 2nd fastest time in the world because he came in at 52.4. Here comes Grievers with those long arms, starting to sneak up on Plummer, and just what we thought these three are going to buy for making that team.
Plummer is 3rd with the line as well. To the wall is Plummer, 52.12, a personal best for Plummer's. Grievers was 2nd. So it's Plummer who gives that line a run, and he now has the fastest time in the world this year.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy what these two guys are doing to this event right now. You've got 3 guys now, Dan, that are ranked in the top 4 in the world. 3 out of the 4 fastest times in the world are from the United States. So it's just, look at this, side by side. Grievers there on the left. David Plummer looking so good. Both these elder statesmen of the sport, stroke for stroke as they come down the stretch. A long arm of Grievers almost went by him. This is going to be the race of the meet, in my opinion, for the men, at least as far as drama goes in making that Olympic team.
And it's what you talk about from the start of the trials, is that someone is not going to make it. And David Plummer seems like he's intent on not being that guy for the 2nd straight trials. He's got the top time headed into the finals tomorrow night, followed by Murphy, who had the best time in the world this year for what, about a minute and a half or so? Followed by Grievers, the silver and gold medalist in the last 2 Olympic Games. It's going to be one great race to determine the top 2 in the men's 100 back tomorrow night. As Grievers checks out the time. Okay, I'll finish 2nd to Plummer here right now. But Plummer really has established himself in the 2nd semifinal. But you're looking at Amy Bilquist from the University University of California. Fourth at the NCAAs in the short course 100-yard discipline. And so how do you see this event stacking up, Rowdy, as we check out the start list in the first of the two semis?
We've got to believe the second semi is the stronger of the two, so it puts a little pressure on this first semifinal. First of all, you have pressure in and of itself because it's the first semi. You can't take any chances. At least the second semi, they can take a look at what everybody else went and base their swim on that somewhat with their strategy. But this one, these guys, these women have got to let it go here. Bilquist 59.67. That's the 10th fastest time in the world this year, actually tied with Hannah Stevens, who we'll see in the next heat.
And you got to take it out because considering the firepower and experience in the next semifinal with Missy Franklin, Olivia Smoliga, who's turned to the top time thus far, Natalie Coughlin, a veteran in the next semifinal, all coming up. But here is the first of the two semis in the women's 100. Top 8 make it to the finals tomorrow night.
Yeah, only about a second separates the top 10 swimmers as we start this first semifinal. And Smoliga had an exceptional first heat, 59.65. She's actually the 6th fastest time in the world. She'll be in the second semi.
Pretty tightly bunched. There is Allie DeLoof down there in lane 5 who touched first. Bilquist was about 3/10 back as they make the stretch for the wall.
Right now, 007 is the 8th fastest time, so you've got to believe at least 3 or 4 tenths faster. So if you're 00 low, you probably will make the final, and that's the goal here.
DeLoof still has the lead. Bilquist has come up on her a little bit above her in lane 4. And Grace Ariola in lane 6 also looking pretty good, but it is Bilquist and DeLoof 1-2, followed by Clara Smitty of the University of Michigan swim team up there in lane 3.
Yeah, just as we said, Dan, I thought it was going to be a bit slow the first heat, 59.85. She was the only one under a minute. Here's the start. Again, so critical. Pull your back up, get it nice and straight. There's actually a backstroke ledge now that the swimmers have that's underneath the water. That gives them a little bit more comfort on the blocks. Bilquist right there in the middle, 59.85. They're the only swimmer to break a minute. But DeLoof and Smitty, both from Michigan, had good swims. 001, 002 most likely will move on to the final.
So the 59.85 for Bilquist sets the pace as we look ahead to the second semifinal. Again, as you mentioned, the only swimmer under a minute. And the rest of the way they stacked up, Ariola in the 4th position. They'll all be looking at the times in the clock as the next group and the final 8 swimmers to compete on this second day get ready to come out.
Look at this second semifinal, Dan. I'm kind of going down the line and looking at the potential anyway. You could have 5 or 6 swimmers make the final that come out of this semifinal. That's how slow that first semifinal was.
The first swimmer to come out in this second semifinal will be a 14-year-old from Lakeville, Minnesota, Reagan Smith, who will be in the same pool as Missy Franklin, the megastar from London 4 years ago. Just a great moment for her to experience. And there is Missy Franklin coming out.
You can hear the crowd as soon as she walks out.
Rowdy, give us your honest assessment. How did Missy Franklin look in the morning swim today?
There's no doubt she looked sluggish, Dan. She went 003. I mean, her best time in history is 58.3, so that was a full 2 seconds off her best time. Now, it was the preliminaries of her first swim, but still looked very sluggish. She's going to have to be, actually, you know what, Dan? She doesn't have to be that much faster.
And there's her mom, D.A., her dad, Dick. They were omnipresent in London 4 years ago. And Missy, after competing at Cal for a couple of years, moved back to Colorado to train with her old coach, Todd Schmitz, and hoping to kind of reignite the magic that we saw 4 years ago. So it's Franklin in lane 3 Olivia Smoliga is a real factor next to Missy in lane 4. And then you've got Natalie Coughlin down there in lane 6. This represents her best individual chance to get back on another Olympic team and keep her hopes alive of winning another Olympic medal and becoming the most decorated American female Olympian in history. She's currently tied with Jenny Thompson and Dara Torres in that category right now.
She's definitely going to have to go faster than 007, but last year alone she went 59 flat. So she's had the fastest American time of any lady the last 2 years. So if she can just kind of sneak down to 00 low or even under a minute, she'll be safely onto the final.
But it's a reality situation here for Missy Franklin and Natalie Coughlin because Olivia Smoliga has looked impressive. There in lane 4, Hannah Stevens below her in lane 5, a 21-year-old from the University of Missouri.
You're right, Dan. Smoliga looks so good in the prelims, and one of the reasons why she looks so good, at least from a time perspective, 59.6, she was horrendous on the walls, just terrible on both of the walls. Crunched the first wall, a little long on the finish, much better here as far as her stroke. And Missy Franklin right now is in lane number 3, and she may be
in danger.
Dead last.
Smoliga just second. She's 7th after that turn. So Franklin up there in lane 3 is a full body length behind Smoliga, who's below her in lane 4. And Kathleen Baker up there in lane 2 is looking good, second from the top. Missy's below lane 2 and just hoping to get some finishing speed here. Here comes Smoliga, who's going to win this second semifinal, and we'll see where Missy Franklin and Natalie Coughlin down there in lane 6 stack up. Missy was 4th, Coughlin was 5th, as Smoliga turns in a personal best. So now we're crunching the numbers to see how the top 8 stack up for tomorrow.
The question is,
and Coughlin and Franklin just get in 7th and 8th. So Franklin 7th, Coughlin 8th, just squeak into the final tomorrow night.
I know all eyes were obviously on Missy and just hoping she could get in there and make that final, as well as Natalie Coughlin. But this race really was about Olivia Smoliga and Kathleen Baker, 2 exceptional swims. Smoliga going 59.16, which makes her the 5th fastest time in the world this year. Again, Dan, somehow or another, Franklin has got to be able to find a way to do something underwater. Again, I know she's had some problems with that back, but right there, she is 7th. She just can't do that going out this first 50. It's just not possible. She's got that great finish, but it won't matter, not with this field. Look at Smoliga right there. Beautiful finish there for her. Here's Franklin way back here. Kathleen Baker up top. Luckily, fortunately for Franklin, she's got those long arms where she can out-touch some of those other swimmers coming into the wall.
Smoliga wins it, takes the top time into tomorrow night. Franklin was 4th in the heat, and as we mentioned, Franklin and Coughlin, the longtime American star Coughlin and Franklin, the superstar from 4 years ago, will race for the finals tomorrow night. But it's Smoliga who leads the way in the women's 100 back. Good night from Omaha. We'll see you tomorrow.